the Humans and Earth podcast. Since 2020, we've offered you resources for thriving in your own life while you contribute to greater well-being for other people, plants and animals, and our gorgeous planet. Our episodes show you improvements occurring for humans and the natural world and help you feel whole, strong, and empowered so you can offer support wherever you feel called. I'm Dr. Shara Arman, a thought leader and teacher who knows without a doubt that many of us alive today are on a shared mission to renew ourselves and life on Earth. We're entering together into a new era of collaboration based on our scientific and spiritual understandings that all life is interconnected. I've gone beyond eco-anxiety and pessimism to the awareness that restorative change is happening across our planet and anyone can participate. People around the world are embracing the consciousness of connection and unity, creating healing shifts for themselves, and stepping forward to assist other people and the natural world toward greater ease and flourishing. With expertise in the history of human cultures and our dynamic relationship to planet Earth and her many inhabitants, and decades of experience in personal development, spirituality, nature connection, trauma recovery, and healing modalities, I offer the podcast to support you in healing and transforming yourself while you contribute to the world's transformation. Healing ourselves is necessary to help Earth heal. As we transform individually and as a human species, we choose to live in harmony with one another and the natural world. You'll learn in our episodes that your sense of calling to contribute to greater flourishing on our planet is real and legitimate. Your vision and action are needed, and you can contribute with ease and soulful authenticity, not sacrifice and burnout. In our interviews and my solo episodes, you'll find help with the overwhelm you may feel in our complex world and resources for caring for and developing yourself even when the outer world seems chaotic. Whoever you are, there's a way for you to assist yourself, other people, and plants and animals to experience greater ease and thriving. In the Humans and Earth community, we're learning that we don't heal ourselves or our world through fear or despair, but from our heart-centered love, our creativity, and our self-empowerment. We're not trying to save a sinking ship, but collaborating with other people and the natural world to strengthen the renewal and regeneration that already are in process globally. Thanks for listening. Welcome, everyone, to Humans and Earth. I'm so happy to be speaking this evening. Well, it's evening for me and morning for her because she's in Australia with Rachael Wano. I first met her in New York City we think it was the fall of 2019 at a conference. And I was drawn to her immediately. We had a chance to speak a little bit. I got to hear her speak and demonstrate some of her work. And it just so happened that this spring, I think it was April, we met again in New York, which was a pleasure because typically we inhabit really opposite sides of the planet and hemispheres. As you all know, I'm in the Philadelphia area in the northeastern US, and Rachael is in Australia. I tend to think of Rachael as what I might call a very earth-centered, divine feminine attuned energy healer. This is what Rachael tells us about herself. If you are a conscious woman ready to discover the deepest, most sacred parts of yourself, you are in the right place. I'm Rachael Wano, your everyday mama that cultivated my soul gifts to birth a conscious business. Now, I actually don't think Rachael is an everyday mama, but that's okay if you want to identify that way. I think you're rather extraordinary and unusual. She says, this journey has granted me opportunities to travel to sacred lands, sharing tools of embodiment and self-activation. I offer a treasure trove of sacred practices, empowering you to align with your highest potential, unravel the threads of your destiny, heal at the origin, and activate the inherent wisdom within your DNA. The women in my world are raw, real, and ready, and we know we have to do it together. And as I always say, a grounded woman will change the world. And we're going to talk about that this evening and what that means from Rachael's perspective. You can find her work at rachaeltewano.com. That's RACHAELTEWANO, and I'll put that in the show notes. I have considered bringing Rachael onto the podcast in the past. The podcast is now 4 years old. And I think that I didn't because it's a little vulnerable for me to be this open about sharing with my audience some of the healers I really trust and consult. But I'm really happy that we are talking on the podcast now. We're going to talk about healing, empowerment, contribution, and how all of these kinds of up-leveling connect to the well-being of individual people and all life on planet Earth. Rachael, to begin, you and I had said that maybe you would walk us through your practice of grounding through the Earth Star Chakra. You might want to begin by telling us about why you think that's important, and then teach us anything you want to about that process.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. I feel really privileged to be here and to spend this time with you, and hopefully that ripple of wisdom and connection is really felt by your audience. So yes, the Earth Star Chakra, for me, it's very much the first step, the beginning. We all know that to build anything great, it really needs a solid foundation, and that is no different for us as human beings. And to have the solid foundation being the earth, I don't know if there's a better foundation, breathing up the energy and the unconditional love of Mother to really remind us that energy and love and connection is unlimited. We actually don't have to do anything. We don't have to be anyone. We don't have to act a certain way or play a role. We just have to breathe up. And her love and her support is there for us. To be grounded in our energetics, to be embodied and stable, and deeply connected, really opens up a space for us to vibrate at a higher frequency, to be really aligned into our inner voice, to be able to hear and sense what's going on intrinsically as well as externally, but not being overwhelmed and inundated. Yeah, so when we're grounded, we're really connected to ourselves and the earth, our environment. We're no longer overwhelmed and energetically, having anxiety and the monkey brain. This brings everything down for us to be stable. So that's why I really teach that this is the first principle before we go on to really advance energetically, spiritually, consciously. So the Earth Star Chakra for me, in my wisdom, in my innocent wisdom, because everything I do is not learnt from a book. It is intuitively sort of given to me. So interesting enough, when we met, I received a lot of information about a great change that was coming to the planet. And then March 2020, the Earth Star Chakra really changed for me, because I work in sound and energy. It was a shift in the harmonics of our Earth Star Chakra. So I'll give an example, because for me it's the best way that I can. So previously the Earth Star, and I think this is what I shared with you in New York, the Earth Star was this sound. It was deep, it grounded us to our knees, and it was like this, because that's what we needed. But then this big shift happened in March, and it became this frequency. And it was like Mother Gaia turned all the stars from above into liquid form and said, come my starseed, come my little conscious earth beings, come my children, receive the stars from below and from above, so we can really walk this human walk supported with all of our wisdom, all of our cosmic wisdom. And I saw a big shift, not only in the geometry of the Earth Star, but I saw a new wave of clients coming to receive this activation. And these clients all had this common thread, remembering that I don't get it in a book. I have to piece together all this wisdom from what I'm seeing and what my clients are showing me. And what I saw is...
Can we go back to your other microphone setting? Because there's just a little bit of a hum now.
That better? Okay, I turned on the music one. Yeah, what I saw was this common thread of these really humans that were really out there, quite aloof, up in, I would say, in their ether, you know, really quite airy, and felt it quite difficult to ground previously. There was, even if I went really deep into it, I would say that there was a disconnect from being really grounded, that they had resistance to this earth experience. They had resistance to the Earth Mother. And so there was this really big opening of willingness now that the frequency had changed, this shift in energy and geometry. They were like all coming to receive it and felt really supported and safe for the first time, as long as they could remember. So I would love to share this activation. I will do it a lot quicker, and there is a free activation on my website. I believe this is our birthright, to receive this beautiful reweaving of connection to Mother. So if you're visual, just imagine a beautiful elongated arm star beneath your feet. It's actually a beautiful energy ball, but when we stop it to look at it and learn the features of the star, it allows for the information to open. So you can either imagine an 8-pointed star, a cross, or this beautiful orb about 2 feet beneath your feet. And I just want you to take your awareness there and just begin to breathe. That's it. And as I tone, I'm just going to start asking that beautiful energy ball with you to start spinning. Now we're going to breathe. Imagine the breath that you're breathing up from the earth, up from your Earth Star, and you're breathing that breath right to your heart. And as you exhale, breathing back down into the earth, the soil, the mycelium, the fungi, and then breathing all of that back up the body to the heart. And we're stopping at the heart so we don't overstimulate. Exhaling back down into the earth. And just do that a few times. And if you want to take this to the next level, you can do it with your eyes open. Good. You may begin to feel energy in your feet, in your heart, in your body. Good. And I just want you now to go to the horizontal arms of your star. And this is really assisting you to stabilize. So just invite those arms to grow as far and as wide as they need to through the soil, through the earth. And just trust your intuition on this. Trust how far you intend those arms to go so you feel truly supported, truly connected. That's it. And just feel safe in the stability. Move your body, feel that. Maybe really subtle, or for some of you it will be quite profound. I just want you to know that you're safe. This is you and your connection to earth. Right. I'm just going to work with the central lower arm. So invite, if it feels right for you, to just grow that central arm right down through the soil, through the stones, the rocks, right down into the center of Gaia, of Mother. And you arrive into her cave. And within that cave, there's a beautiful crystalline pond. If it feels aligned to you, just dip the arm of your Earth Star into the pond and drink up like a straw the crystallix. And just smile. And as you smile, just allow your heart to organically open. And just feel that connection, that pulse. For some of you, this connection hasn't been for many, many incarnations. For some of you, you will feel like you are home. For others, there may be a reserved feeling. So if there is resistance to this, I invite you to really ask yourself how safe you feel in receiving unconditional love. How are you at receiving in everyday life? Or are you the giver? And to receive this much love and connection, does that feel uncomfortable in your body? Be really real with yourself. Really receive the messages that your body gives you, your spirit gives you. There is no wrong answer here, but this is available to you. There are many more components to this, but this is a really good start. And I'm really big with embodiment. I think it's beautiful to receive activations and have these amazing meditations and journeys, but if it's not enhancing your everyday reality, I kind of like, what's the point? But to receive the goodness and the embodiment of this part of you, I invite you to every morning just get out of bed, and when your feet touch the ground for the first time, just pause for 3 breaths and just grow those arms, breathe 3 breaths to your heart, and then walk on with your day. And I promise you that that breath will stabilize you, will ground you. And now over the years, really going deep with people, understanding their Earth Star, dissolving anxiety, coming off anxiety medication, healing all sorts within the body. It's really profound. A deconditioning of our cerebellum that life has to be hard. Because think about it, this is rewriting the script of so many of our society's conditioning, that it has to be hard, that it has to be difficult. This rewrites the script, and it may trigger you in the beginning, and it may bring up these beliefs that, oh, don't be ridiculous, it can't be this easy. Brilliant, take that belief and throw it out. And keep breathing up the crystallex, because it's all there and it is easy. It's really, really simple. So that's part of the Earth Star. And now you have the grounding breath. The grounding breath balances all of the chakras. And that's not only coming from me, that's coming from many, many energy workers around the world who have reached out and said, this is profound, what it's doing to the energy body. And I'm like, well, we are profound, and our earth connection is profound. Yeah, she gives us everything we need.
Yeah, thank you for leading us through that and explaining it so beautifully, Rachel. I loved doing that process with you again. And I was thinking as you were talking, my original training was as a historian. And so I do kind of think a lot about the continuum of human history as we know it. Of course, there's a lot of human history we don't have recorded, but I was just thinking about how until quite recently, like the last, let's say 150 years, practically everybody lived so much closer to our planet in terms of being barefoot or wearing wood shoes or leather shoes. Both of those materials, of course, let Earth's energy pass through. And then, roughly over the last 150 years, most of us have switched to rubber shoes. And of course, it used to be that the majority of people were living some kind of agrarian peasant life. And not to idealize that, because in some ways that's a very challenging life. But it is close to the earth, close to the seasons, attuned to Earth's energies and patterns, and always kind of in partnership with them. Now, of course, a big percentage of humanity lives indoors. And, it's been amazing that education has become much more available globally. But that also means that in about the last 200 years, more and more of us are focused in this intellectual, rational mindset and perspective. And of course, we've had the scientific revolution as well. But I just think, and I guess the last piece I'll add is now with our whole electronic internet technology world, we're living even more kind of just in our intellect and not in our bodies. But I say all that to just kind of remind everyone who's listening, the traditional millennia-long patterns of human beings on this planet were to live quite close to the earth. We've changed that a lot in the last century or two. And that's probably one reason why these practices that you're teaching are so important and so reparative and make such a difference for people.
Yeah, I agree. And it's, I think the world that we are walking into is here. We're in a new era. We're in the information age. And I know there's a lot of resistance to so many people, but I am quite the realist. And I don't think we're going to stop this wave of AI. We're shifting into Aquarian era as well, which is air. So it makes a lot of sense. In the beginning, I too feared it, but then I looked to nature, and I saw that the internet and artificial intelligence actually is just mirroring what is the mycelium, what is happening in Gaia. So as Mother Earth gave us the stars from below, and we've always had that wisdom from above, from our upper energy body coming down, I kind of just see what's happening in the micro intrinsically within us is actually happening in the macro. And that's the truth, isn't it? That's the law of the universe, above and below, within and without. So when we look externally to these great shifts, to screens and the disconnect, instead of going to fear, we can look to natural rhythms and systems within nature that actually go, okay, well, it's not that synthetic. It's actually happening in the earth. So let's learn from it. And then these processes, even if you are under artificial lights and living in this very 3D, intense, disconnected society, fast-paced living, these processes that we have access to that are really quick can be weaved in as an antidote from that society's normal. So we always find a way as a species. We always find a way to come back to the origin. And it can be bewildering. Like, yeah, I have stopped in this process and went, wow, I'm teaching people how to connect to Earth. Wow, we've really swung out that this has to be taught now, you know, and teaching my children to self-regulate, you know, within their bodies. Go outside and ground yourself. Go sit by a tree and daydream for a bit because you've had, you know, too much screen time or too much stimulation at school. You know, we wouldn't have, as you said, we wouldn't have been saying this a couple of 100 years ago because we weren't inundated with this energy, you know, this, you know, scattered energy that is scattering our bodies.
Yeah, and that was also a time of fewer choices. So it's a really interesting mix because, you know, as far as I know, my ancestors were all peasants and farmers, and that was a life very close to the earth. It was also a life of very, very few choices. So it's quite interesting what we're playing with now as a species, all this complexity, things that are risky, and also more freedom. So it's
Yeah.
fascinating to me.
Yeah, and through being really grounded and centered in your energetics, what actually wakes up within your DNA is, wow, I am all things. And that's not from ego, because after we ground, then we understand heart consciousness and we begin to really live in that expanded reality. But through being grounded, it's really hard to suppress us as a species because we have the love and the connection to self and earth. And then what happens is this unity thread turns on within our brain, within our reality. And the carry on from that and having this aligned energy is we begin to create. We begin to open our capacity and our potential as human beings, which I also think were very squashed in the last couple of thousand years. You know, I think we're going back a couple of thousand years here where a lot of our energetic connection to our creation energy was really repressed and suppressed. And now we're really reconnecting and we're seeing a great shift in consciousness on the planet. Not only I see it globally through all beliefs, through all pathways. And for me, it doesn't matter which pathway, which language you use. We're all walking a similar walk. We're just using a different language.
Oh, I agree. And like you, I see a lot of transformation happening in human consciousness. And I think it's truly an exciting time. If you look at the microcosm of the daily, weekly, monthly, yearly, even decade by decade war and conflict, there's still terrible things that we're doing to one another. But if you can zoom out a little bit and just see how the global conversation is, in many ways, by many measurements, steering way more toward love and unity and collaboration and healing the planet than it was 50 or 100 or 300 years ago. It's quite amazing to me. I wonder if we might want to turn toward what some of this creativity and transformation looks like on the personal scale, because people need to hear that. And that's actually one of your specialties. And there are probably lots of things you could share about that. But you and I had talked about how maybe I would ask you to talk about your kind of remarkable or really remarkable experience when you were quite young, I think in your 20s maybe, or maybe even a little younger, of yourself independently healing a very severely injured finger. That does seem like a beautiful microcosm, exemplar story of what the creativity and transformation can look like for an individual person.
Yeah. So I was living on a deserted island, actually. I was, how old was I? 19. And I was working on a pearl farm up the northwest of Australia. It was just our little house and the pearl farm on an island, and it was there I really began. I had shut down a lot of my gifts out of fear. Seeing all the things. I was born a seer, very multidimensional, and I'd sort of shut that down because no one I knew could explain what was happening to me. But then, immersed in the beauty of Mother Nature, no screens, there was no TV. I don't even think we had a radio out on the island. And I was working out there, and it was actually really beautiful. We had an all-girl crew on the Pearl boat, so it was all eyes on us. We had a male skipper, and we were in town docking the boat, and one of the women, I was holding a chain. We were winching up the back of the Pearl boat to depart, and she turned off the winch, and I was wrapped in the train and thrown up in the air. And yeah, long story short, rushed down to the city, flown by the flying doctors, and was in hospital for 2.5 weeks. And they originally wanted to amputate both fingers. And I was determined. The moment they told me that, I was like, that is not my reality. I made this statement. And then I had surgery. They could definitely save my ring finger, which I was happy about. Young girl, I was like, they're not having my wedding ring finger. But it was the middle finger after surgery it was like literally a black stump. And I remember the surgeon coming in, and I knew I had, out of surgery, I had used, when you look at the clouds sometimes, remember laying as a child, looking at the clouds, and you can see all the like little glowworms, like sparkles. Remember seeing that? Or if you haven't, please go and try it. So that is just universal energy. And I had nothing to do in hospital. So I would breathe that energy from the clouds and from the trees in my hospital room and just breathe it into my body. And I remember thinking, if a lizard can grow a tail, I'm a human being. I can grow this finger. One, I can heal it and save it. And two, I'm going to grow it. And the surgeon came in a few weeks later. They said it hadn't taken, my finger was dead. And I don't know where I got this strength from, because I remember my mum said nothing, but I remember him coming in and I said, my finger is not dead and I do not give you permission to amputate it. And he leaned over the bed and he grabbed this part here. He unstitched it, like took all the wrapping off, and it was black, and she was really ugly. And he leaned over to rip it, to show me it was dead. And it bled. And he stepped back and he looked me square in the eye and he said, what drugs are you on? And I said, earth energy. And he was like, I don't know what you're doing, but that's profound. And I said, it's alive and it will be the longest finger one day. And he laughed at me and he said, well, who knows, hey? Yeah, it's alive. So months and months of hand therapy. I had to teach my finger how to move, all the things. And then years later, I went off traveling, and I'd say it as a joke, and I would just do this, and I would continue to bring energy into it. I got it full motion. And then I went off traveling to Europe by myself, later that year. And I would come home and people would say, how's that finger? And I'm like, almost the longest. So there wasn't a doubt in my mind that I would not heal this finger and it would one day be the longest finger again. And it is. And that is purely with, I call it my ET. It looks like ET because it's got a little nail on the end. And yeah, I would just continue to see it already healed and continue to just breathe in universal energy. And it's that simple. It really is. And the capacity to heal is only limited by our brain, by our mindset. Yeah.
It's a beautiful story. And, it reminds me of other similar stories. Like Joe Dispenza has the x-rays to show his shattered spine and how he didn't want to be full of debilitating pins and other hardware. I think he was recommended to have a lot of hardware inserted. So he laid flat with his broken back and visualized his spine repairing itself, and it did. Alberto Villoldo has a similar account. It's important that we share these stories and help people realize it's not a one-off. It's still unusual to be able to do that, but it's not a one-off. There are a number of people, certainly over the centuries and millennia, but also alive right now, who actually have the medical records to show that they, just like you, have directed their consciousness and worked with life and earth energy and actually created regeneration, which actually, reminds me too, that needs to be our planetary project. I mean, if you can do it for your finger, then why can't we do it for humanity? Why can't we do it for the water, the soil, all the animals, the plants, the whole planet herself?
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that you touched on water. I feel like water is such a key teacher to us. I've been on a year and a day devotion to the world's waters. And once I agreed to that, I've been sent all over. Everything just sort of opened up, and streams and rivers, and then handing over to Grandmother Ocean. But water is such a conductor of healing. And Dr. What is that? Many Messages in Water. I remember.
Dr. Emoto. And there's now a woman here in the US, Julia someone. I cannot remember her full name, but there's someone here in the US who's carrying on Emoto's work and just published a book apparently.
Wow, and Vida Austin in New Zealand is bringing some beautiful science to water. But we are, so much of us is water. And when we know we have the capacity to be a conductor of whatever frequency we're bringing into our body, if we, pray to it's science has proven how we can change frequency through prayer and intention. For me, I do it with sound, my chalices. I feel like sound is going to be a catalyst for great healing. In the future, sound frequency is so healing. I think that's traveling to Egypt a few years back, a lot of remembrance came up with how we used to use sound to really conduct universal energy across the planet, So I think water is a big part of that. And it's interesting that the Earth Star, the crystallix liquid in the center of Gaia, that liquid stars, is showing us that this water component is really the new way. It's the way forward. And our Earth has such a mass of water. I feel the polarity of the human experience. And I was given these messages many, many years ago that water will be a commodity one day, and that at our birthright, no one should ever have to pay for water. That water and the medicine that water is should be available to everyone. And I was given a geometry to put on water to be able to shift, the frequency of it to be really healing. And I heard the other week that it is now a commodity, like it's on the stock market. And that is telling me something as conscious earth walkers, our awareness, there's a real awakening I'm seeing on the planet of this awareness to water and this mass understanding of it being a conductor and so precious, and that it holds energy. It is like a computer, like a crystal. It holds energy. We can structure it. We can infuse it with light and sound, and it can heal us. And on the polarity of capitalist humanity, they're trying to monetize it and sell it. In so many countries, you can buy a cool drink, a soda, cheaper than you can water. So I'm just seeing this big shift as our understanding and our remembering of the potency of water and what it can do for us and how it can so quickly transform Earth and heal Earth. There's this capitalist side that tries to really suppress it and hold it and dam it and stop the flow of it and pollute it, but we have to
control it. Well, and it's interesting too, here in the US, there's a big movement to remove a lot of those massive dams that were created in the mid 20th century. So I think that's interesting. And I'm hearing a lot of people talk about water. Sandra Walter has been talking a lot about water and also plasma, which may be the same thing as what you call crystallex. So, I agree with you. I think there's a lot happening with water in all different dimensions of our awareness and interaction with it.
Yeah. And I feel just to share the wisdom of Grandmother Ocean, because I think this is something that everyone can do if they feel connected. You only have to know by going to the ocean and going for a beach walk how good you feel. And the science, there's science around what happens to our bodies when we're at the beach. But in this year and a day devoted to the Earth's waters, Grandmother Ocean asked me to sing and to pray to the rivers and to the streams, to give my song, to sing to them and to open my heart to all those insignificant streams wherever I cross them. And whenever we have woes or pains or angst, to go to the ocean and hand over to her cauldron, because the ocean is the great cauldron, the great receiver, and the Grandmother Ocean has the capacity to filter and clean all of that. So it's not a burden. She actually is begging us to go to the ocean and scream our woes out, to jump and to, pull it all out. And then as we're grounded and free and we've created that space, to go to the lakes and sing and to pray. So I invite you, however that is for you, to honor that if you want to be part of this beautiful shift in healing the earth. We're all acupuncturists on the earth. We're all part of this ecosystem, and that's just a really simple way to, if you feel like you want to play a small role, that's a beautiful thing to do.
It is beautiful. That leads me to want to ask you, how do you see the balance between being very connected to the earth in the place where you live and then traveling in ways that you're guided to? Because I know that you do both. I know you're very connected to your home place, and also that in recent years you've been guided to visit Egypt, the US. I think you've been to the UK a few times, maybe the south of France, which are all pretty big trips from your spot in Australia. So how do you see that balance between the local connection and then sometimes the calling that some people have to visit different places on Gaia and connect there?
Yeah, so I see myself as a custodian of this land. The first time we knew this big shift was coming to the planet, we knew we wanted acreage, we wanted to come back to grow our own food, to create a sanctuary for the native flora and fauna, and to really be a guardian of the waters underneath in the aquifer here. So here it's that steward energy. It's really, but this land is gridded with crystals. It doesn't matter who comes here, even my tradies, they're like, what do you do? And I always know when they ask that question, they're sensing this space, this
And you
energy.
mean, for those of us in the US and elsewhere, you mean when tradesmen, like when repair people, electricians or plumbers or something visit? Okay, good. I just wanted to clarify.
And that in Australia, they're just this real blokey, not energy, aware, or, in their language, very spiritual or conscious, they're real blokey. But they drive onto this property like to help us with things, and I'll watch them and I'll take them cups of tea and thing, and they'll always ask, like, what is this place? What do you do? Because they feel the energy and the harmonics. And I think when we are in devotion to the earth, and it can be a small plot of land, we can be renting, it doesn't matter, it doesn't have to be acreage like this, but when we mindfully connect to the earth where we stand, we are custodians, and it's temporary. But what we can do with the land is hear what she wants, hear what, on such a small level. But to be a custodian of a land, I think, is such a great privilege, because it's micro, isn't it? It's like tendering to yourself has a ripple effect in the macro. So this land was a calling. To purchase it. It happened seamlessly. I think I saw it on the Wednesday, we bought it on the Friday, and my husband hadn't even seen it. It was very quick because it vibrated to love and was really nourishing. The calls that I've had, the first time I got on a plane was 19. I traveled for 10 years by myself, innocently, no watch. I just would literally open a book and land on a page and go and explore. I learned so much about myself. I had no language around what was happening to me, and I had no external friend that was having these experiences on these sacred sites or within these towns. It would affect my physical and my spirit. And it's only now I look back in hindsight where I was dabbled and placed. And for me now, knowing and teaching how to read earth energy and how to refine and attune our body to the earth, to the ley lines, I call it the Sophionic grid lines. I understand now what is happening, but like probably many of you, you get this sensation, a desire, a calling. What is a calling? It's internal. It goes beyond logic. There is something inside of you that is like, yes, I need to go. One calling I had, my babies were young, and I was in the shower and I heard I had to go to Glastonbury over the equinox in must have been 2017, and it sounded crazy, like I can't leave my babies. And 5 days my husband's like, you have to go, I can see it in you, like, go. And I was like, oh my goodness. So I flew to England for 5 days from Australia, and I didn't know why, but I knew I had to be there on the tour on the 22nd of September. And so I've learned to honor that calling and override logic and money and all the practical human things, because when I'm in that devotion, that service, I call it, to the earth, everyone benefits, and some profound, beyond magic things happen. And we have this really Australian quote now on my retreat, because people join and their minds are blown, like, how did that just happen, you know? And we say we just can't make this shit up. Like, it's too magic, it's too profound. And I kind of just giggle and say, but that's the beauty of honoring the call, you know, and walking the earth where we feel we have to. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that takes us back to where we began when we spoke about the grounding to the earth and our own Earth Star chakras and being embodied, because you have become very skilled at living that way. And that opens up this dimension of serendipity or miracle or flow state or whatever term we want to use. Whereas, you know, a lot of us are becoming more and more aware when we're all the time in the rational, mental, logical, then it makes no sense to go to the ocean today. It makes no sense to go to Glastonbury. It makes no sense to even sit in your own back garden and watch the bees, as I know you do, or it makes no sense to care about rights for water for everyone because, well, capitalism seems to be the only rational thing. So I think, you know, that's just a very nice circling around and a reminder of how that grounding that you began with, which might seem basic or inconsequential, it is really the foundation for everything that you live and teach.
It really is. And I think, you know, to be nourished, connection. I see a humanity that is looking for connection in ways that don't nourish. You know, we've seen the false connection, and granted, you know, I have so many amazing connections through social media, and it's made our world smaller, and we can connect with people and learn from all over the world. But for so many, if we're really balanced, yeah, but there's a wound to that false connection as well, that we're missing what is right in front of us. You know, have you ever sat in a cafe without a phone these days? Like, people look at me like I'm crazy because I'm just sitting enjoying people watching life unfold. That is one of my most precious things. Eye contact with strangers, a little smile. But in this world, you'll see a group of people out for dinner, and it breaks my heart actually. Families, you know, everyone's on the phone because they think connection is here. But when we're grounded in ourselves and comfortable in our energy, we actually get into magnetism as well. But through that, here is the connection, the real connection, the earth connection, the connection to one another. That will nourish you. You know, we only have to reflect on, if you've been scrolling for an hour, how do you actually feel? Do you feel nourished? Or has it flicked you into comparison, competition, overwhelm? I'm not doing it good enough. Like all of those things.
Loneliness. Yeah.
Loneliness. Yeah. So I think this grounding allows you to feel comfortable in real, authentic, vulnerable, joyous connection, real human connection. And then we're nourished, hey? And we're all quite undernourished.
Yes. So true. So true.
Mm.
So as we move toward a close, I'm wondering if there's anything else you'd like to share, or any message you want to bring through, or if you'd simply like to tell us a little bit about some of your offerings, any or all of those possibilities.
Well, I would love everyone, if this has evoked curiosity, or if this has evoked wonder, or if you felt a sensation move through your body and it's evoked, ooh, what is this? I just invite you to really explore it. Just do it for 30 days. Just do the grounding breath for 30 days. Reach out to me. I love hearing all the things because, as I said, it's really simple. But yes, I think the more grounded we are as a species, no matter what we create externally, we have the capacity to navigate it. And this is what I see with my clients. You know, I often quite reflect with them and say, look how far you've come. Yes, this challenge has been created in your life, but look how you're dealing with it now. Look how your perceptions have shifted around it. Look at how you can pull the gold and the lesson and the growth from this, versus 3 months ago when you would have spun out and gone into chaos and into the mind and created this whole vortex of drama and pulled everyone else into it. Now, it's like, it's a different reality. When you shift and when you're grounded and you begin to come into your heart, you literally are in a different reality. And that ripple that you have into the collective, that is the biggest impact you can have. It all begins and ends with energy. And when your energy is aligned, your impact, the magnitude is beyond. So really explore that. Of course, I teach that. I have the Earthwalker 101, which really shares the teachings of how we can walk out onto the earth, connect to it, shift energy for all the empaths out there. How do we navigate these big energies that we feel in our external? I teach a process called ARC. I share with you how you can go to a sacred site and pick up the information that's coded in the soil. That's really beautiful. And I also do many retreats on sacred sites where we not only come in for personal growth and consciousness growth and energetic growth, but that ripple of us joining in alignment together in connection with the earth and the stars, the cosmos, that ripple is really profound. So my retreats are, I think everyone should experience them once. Personally, there's such moment of joy.
I would love to someday. I hope you and I get to do that together sometime.
Yeah, it really is that unified field that we create. So when you're immersed in it, the results and the magic is amplified. But really, I mean, at the end of the day, it begins and ends with energy. So learner, it's all within us. And that is the walk I go on with friends and clients. Well, most of my clients become friends. But yes, it's all within us. We just need to remember. And your unique way of being and of expressing is needed. So please find your unique blueprint, your unique vibration, and share from that place, because it is needed. We can't all be the same, and I love to activate and work with people to really align them to their unique voice, their unique expression. It's needed.
I agree. It is so needed to create all the different kinds of healing, repair, and regeneration. It's really important right now for everybody to be expressing what's actually in their heart and soul and body, not whatever conventional story they feel like they have to follow, even if it doesn't feel good. So thank you for voicing that.
Yeah. And thank you for doing this and bringing this wisdom in your beautiful way. Your podcast's amazing, and joining, magnetizing in your people. And I think it's these little pieces that all create this new world. And we all know we kind of need to create that ASAP. So thank you.
Thank you, Rachael. Such a pleasure to be in conversation with you. People can find Rachael at rachaeltewano.com. That's RACHAEL, and I will publish that in the show notes. Thanks once more.
Absolute privilege. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Humans and Earth. We're honored to support you as you interweave your well-being with your desire to serve life's thriving. What did you hear in today's episode that you'd like to remember? Share it with someone else if you can. In a world often focused more on what's going wrong than what's going right, we can all contribute by helping those around us to see the renewal that's possible. Together, we can create healing and regenerative relationships with ourselves, other people, and the many species that make up the life community on Earth. Kindly share today's episode on social media or with a friend to welcome more people into contributing to flourishing for humans and Earth. Please follow our work on Instagram and Facebook at School Humans Earth. To gain access to our courses and coaching, visit www.humansandearth.com.